I suppose it's somewhat amazing, but maybe understandable to some degree, what a thirsty person at a well will bring out in another person. I suppose in today's world it'd be like people who gather at a water fountain at a school, or at the coffee pot at work. It's natural for us to get into conversation while we're waiting for something else, for somebody else to be finished with a fountain or somebody else to help us get some coffee. For Jesus, this conversation allowed a woman to experience a breakthrough in her life. She was able to confess to a dysfunctional kind of relationship that she had with men. Then she felt changed by the sensitivity and the interest that Jesus showed as he helped her to open up. Ultimately, her witness in the village changed the lives of many people there. They came to know Jesus, and they appreciated his ability to break down the barriers that had divided them, Jews and Samaritans, for so many years, for generations indeed. And you know, the whole experience started because Jesus was willing to break the barrier himself. He wanted a drink that he couldn't obtain by himself because there was no bucket at the well. He required the woman's cooperation. And by asking for her help, he engaged her in this conversation. And just see where it went. What a world of difference it made to the villagers in that little Samaritan town. You know, that conversation at the well reminds me of Abraham's servant who was sent by Abraham up north to his relative's place, a place called Haran. And there at Haran he met Rebekah at the well, remember? In that faraway country. As he arrived there, he needed to water his camels. And he had no means to do it, and Rebekah was there. And she filled up the watering trough and gave the camels plenty of water and provided the servant with some water, and then invited the servant to come stay at her father's house because she knew he was a stranger from that area. And the result was, after the journey back to Canaan, the result was a marriage to Isaac. And Rebekah, you see, was able to include the servant in her notice, and a bucket of water sealed the future. There's another incident at the same well about a generation later when Jacob, who's escaping the wrath of his brother Esau, went up north far away from home again, up north to Haran. And there at the well, he met Rachel, who was being bullied by a bunch of other shepherds. And he drove the other shepherds off. But Jacob fell in love. And we know it's a really complicated story. It took him 14 years, or 7 more years, 7 years before he could marry Rachel. But she opened up to him. And again, God worked in mysterious ways to bring his purpose through. I wonder how often we ask someone else for a glass of water. We usually go get it ourselves, don't we? We don't want to trouble other people. And yet, when we trouble other people, it gives us an opportunity and them an opportunity for us to have a relationship, to open up and to talk about things that might not be of all that much importance, but then there might be that opportunity to talk about some really deep issues. Can we come to a stranger and ask for water? Can we welcome strangers before knowing their background and their purpose? We can't find offense in people's differences. When Jesus asked the woman for some water, he did not think that the woman was beneath his notice. He valued her as deeply as he valued his own disciples. And he gave her the water of life in return, the flowing stream of refreshment for her soul, and revealed who he really was. He offered grace. So how can we, both as individuals and as a community of the church, bring water for our neighbors? Jesus modeled that approach. He asked genuine questions. He didn't just stay on the surface. He dug deep to find out what was really in the woman's life. He showed where he would appreciate assistance from her. And he invited her to think more deeply. Finally, he did not discriminate against any class of people, even though by tradition he was supposed to hate the woman because she was a Samaritan and because she was a woman. But Jesus didn't allow those categories, those kinds of traditions, to stop him. He treated her with respect and expected her to find understanding and to respond positively. Our mission given by Christ sends us to places and to people who might make us uncomfortable. The message that we speak is Jesus. Now, we don't have to always speak with our words. We can speak with our actions as well. This means that our faith and the gift that we get is God's gift. And I'm sure that when we do this with open hearts, they will respond. So, my friends, don't ever pass by a chance to start a conversation with somebody. If it's with a friend, it's going to be a natural kind of thing to do. But especially if it's a stranger, it's important that you do so. I know that your mother taught you to not ever talk to strangers. But that was when you were a child. You're grown up now. You're mature enough to be able to understand and figure out if this person is a dangerous person or not. You're aware of your surroundings. So start talking. Don't be afraid to demonstrate your faith, both in your word and in your action. And God will lead you, and many people will come to know Christ. Let us pray. God, help us to understand that our deepest need is to share your grace in our lives and in those lives around us. Help us to do this, O God. Amen.